Most Catholics wimp out seriously here. They do the bare minimum to be within the letter of the law, so to speak. This is Mike from Catholic Treehouse, and I'd like to welcome you to the Saint in Progress podcast, your source for inspiration, information, and directions for your soul's journey back home to the Father's house. As always, you can find us at CatholicTreehouse.com or SaintInProgress.com, and also on Substack. So how are you doing this week? This is episode 15. We're going to be talking about preparation for Lent. We're going to pull St. Basil back in here for kind of a 2-week back-to-back episode of getting ready for Lent. And I'm finally recovering from the Columbus Catholic Men's Conference, and man, let me tell you, what a blessing it was to be part of it. I'd first like to give a shout out and thanks to Patrick for giving us a great table location, and to the man of the hour, Kevin Lowry, for hanging out at the Catholic Treehouse table and autographing his book, Honor Thy Wife, and chatting with guys that were waiting on me to get them checked out. Now, I've sold through my entire inventory of Honor Thy Wife, but thankfully Kevin brought some of his supplies, so everyone who wanted a copy got one, especially the guys at the end of the conference. You see, Father Blau gave the book a mention in his homily, so we had guys coming up after Mass to buy the book instead of joining the exodus of people heading for their cars, many of whom had already bought a copy. So if you haven't bought your copy, check it out, honorthywife.com. You can also find it on Amazon. Just do a search for Honor Thy Wife, and it pops right up. Anyway, it was a blessing-filled day, and I met a lot of new people, and I reconnected with some old friends, and in general, I just had a blast. But with my old battered knees standing from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m., with the exception of attending Mass, well, it took its toll. But I'm back in form, and I'm getting ready for Lent. So how about you? Are you ready for Lent? Did you identify what vice is, which one you have that you're going to work on this Lent? Well, if not, go back and listen to episode 14 and the words from St. Basil, and then come back and finish this episode. Okay, so you have your vice identified at this point. So what are you going to do about it? That's the question. Well, we always say that Lent is about 3 things: fasting, prayer, and almsgiving. So let's address those in reverse order. Almsgiving. I'm going to make this short and to the point. Whenever possible, give locally. And by locally, I mean your own parish. If you have a St. Vincent de Paul ministry, give to them. If your parish has other ministries like Right to Life, give to them. Why am I saying this? 2 reasons. First, you know who you're supporting. They're literally your neighbors. You're helping people in your own community. This isn't to say that helping people in other parts of the world is a bad thing, but why walk over the homeless man in the street to put it in an envelope to give money to equally homeless man 4,000 miles away? Second, the big agencies that frequently collect money this time of year, well, I'm not going to get all political here, and this has nothing whatsoever to do with the current resident of the White House, but not all the agencies that have Catholic in their name are actually, in fact, Catholic in nature. There's an organization that's been around for many years, longer than the Department of Government Efficiency, and this place that I'm going to tell you about has been a watchdog on these things. It's called the Lepanto Institute. I'll put the URL in the show notes. They have a charity report page, and they go digging into all these organizations, and they tell you if they're safe or not for Catholics to donate their money to. For example, Catholic Relief Services. Every year around this time, they have this Operation Rice Bowl that they put out. Well, it has Catholic in the name, must be good, we think. But the Lepanto Institute did some digging and found out that they take your money and they give it to other places that facilitate abortion, that advocate for birth control, and engage in LGBT activism. And if you go to the Lepanto Institute's website, they have the documentation to prove all that. In modern parlance, they have the receipts, so to speak. Here's another unsafe one. The Catholic Campaign for Human Development. While they facilitate abortion and birth control, they engage in LGBT activism, they also promote Marxism and facilitate heresy. That's right. Tens of thousands of dollars given to the CCHD have been granted to organizations that engage in activities that are in direct violation of Catholic teaching. The Catholic Campaign for Human Development is not a place where you want to be giving your money. So my friends, keep your almsgiving local. And if you want to make a global impact, go to Lepanto Institute's website and vet who you're going to give your money to see if it's a good organization that Catholics can feel good and safe in giving their money to. Okay, next up is going to be prayer. Here, I'm going to give my pitch for 2 things that I've personally found to be totally transformative in my faith life. And both of these practices started as a Lenten practice for myself. So first is saying the rosary every day. I'm not just saying this because I make and sell rosaries and I have some left over from the men's conference. I make and sell rosaries because I want people to pray the rosary and I want to make rosaries that people will want to pray. So I told my kids an unprayed rosary is just a bunch of beads in a drawer. So let me tell you a story. When I was a kid, my mom would take me to church every Friday during Lent for Stations of the Cross and a recitation of the Rosary. I remember really liking it, and she'd let me use my dad's rosary, so I looked forward to it. Well, we didn't pray the rosary outside of Fridays in Lent. And then I got older and spiritually lazy in my teens and 20s. And I finally convinced this beautiful girl to date me, and I began to wander back to the faith. And then I finally convinced her to marry me. And when my bride and I were on our honeymoon, we went to Italy. And we bought rosaries. And they're a great gift for tourists because they're light and small, and you can buy a bunch and stick them in your suitcase without much trouble. And people in general like them when you bring them home. Well, we bought some for ourselves too. And let me tell you, that rosary sat in its box on my dresser, unprayed, for about 12 years. It's this beautiful, deep wine red, and I never got it out of the box. And then one Lent, I decided, I'm going to pray this every day for Lent. And let me tell you, it changed my life. It was a struggle at first, and I had to use a cheat sheet to keep track of the mysteries. But by the end of Lent, I had it memorized, and it's still something I do almost every day. The graces and blessings from a devotion to the Rosary can only be surpassed by one other devotion, in my opinion: Eucharistic adoration. That was the other practice of mine that started as a Lenten observance. Our parish has a perpetual Eucharistic adoration chapel, so I said, this Lent, I'm going to go every day, even if just for 5 minutes. Changed my life. I now have a weekly holy hour, and let me tell you, spending that hour with the Lord, it is the best hour of my week. Now, there's lots of prayerful devotions out there, and I recommend these two, but there's tons of others. Some I've tried, like the Liturgy of the Hours, and others I haven't, like the Divine Mercy Chaplet. But Lent is a great time to try different prayerful devotions and see what works for you, and potentially find something that you'll continue doing after Lent. Now, for me, Liturgy of the Hours didn't stick, but maybe for you it will. I mean, who knows? So give a different new devotion a try this Lent. That's my prayerful advice. So now on to the last part, and potentially the hardest and most difficult part: fasting. Most Catholics wimp out seriously here. They do the bare minimum to be within the letter of the law, so to speak. Okay, I'll give up fast food. Well, that's fine if you have it for lunch every day. But if you only have it once a week, is it really a good fast? No. Your fast should be something that drives you to crave it, to desire it, to really feel the effects of not having it. So let me bring in St. Basil the Great, our tour guide from last week, to tell us a little more. While getting filled up does a favor for the stomach, fasting returns benefits to the soul. Be encouraged, because the doctor has given you a powerful remedy for sin. Strong, powerful medicines can get rid of annoying worms that are living in the bowels of children. Fasting is like that, as it cuts down to the depths, venturing into the soul to kill sin. It is truly fitting to call it by this honorable name of medicine. Fasting is as old as mankind itself. It was given as a law in paradise. The first commandment Adam received was, "From the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, do not eat." Now this command, "do not eat," is the divine law of fasting and temperance. If Eve had fasted from the tree, we would not have to keep this fast now. The strong don't need a doctor, but the sick do. We were made sick through sin. Let's be healed through repentance. But repentance without fasting is ineffective. For the earth is cursed, thorns and briars rise up to you. You see, enduring pain has been prescribed for you, not delicate living. Since we did not fast, we fell from paradise. Well, now let's fast, so that we may go back again. Fasting quenches the power of fire. It closes the mouths of lions. Fasting sends prayer up into heaven, becoming like wings for its upward journey. Fasting is the increase of houses, the mother of health. It is an instructor of youth, an adornment to the old. It is a good companion for traveling, a secure living companion to those dwelling together. A husband doesn't suspect a plot against his marriage and lives in harmony with his wife when he sees her fasting. A wife doesn't fall apart in jealousy and happily accepts the husband she sees fasting. Fasting gives birth to prophets and strengthens the powerful. Fasting makes lawgivers wise. Fasting is a good safeguard for the soul, a steadfast companion for the body, a weapon for the valiant, and a gymnasium for athletes. Fasting repels temptations, anoints unto piety. It is the comrade of watchfulness and the artificer of chastity. In war, it fights bravely. In peace, it teaches stillness. So, my fellow saints in progress, if you have any sin of the flesh, which I'm going to quote St. Paul in Galatians 5, verses 19 to 21 here as a partial list: sexual immorality, impurity and debauchery, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. Well, if you have any of those sins of the flesh, a serious fast from food will help you break those sins. I'm not talking about a black fast where you have nothing to eat or drink all day. But can you say skip breakfast? Or skip lunch? Or only have half portions at 2 meals? Or half portions at 3 meals? Or can you do what we do on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday and only have 2 snacks that combined don't constitute a full meal and then a normal dinner, but do that for all of Lent rather than just on the bookends? Can you step it up this year as much as your health will allow? I mean, don't risk your health for Lent. I did that once. My spiritual director read me the riot act for being a dummy. But I'll save that story for another time. Okay, can you pick a fast that causes you some serious discomfort? Pray on that between now and Ash Wednesday, which is less than a week away. Matter of fact, pray on all the things you're going to do for Lent: the fasting, the prayer, and the almsgiving. Make it a good Lent. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Next week and all through Lent, we're going to bring in another tour guide and do a meditation on the 7 Sorrows of Mary. Do not miss it. Until then, have a blessed week. Pray about your Lenten observances and never, ever, ever forget, you and everyone you meet, we're all saints in progress. So my friends, go out there and make progress. Go out there and be a saint.